Hmm.
Okay bro, ito na, ito na. Ito yung magiging favorite episode
Ito
ko.
na.
Ito na. So as we speak, hindi lang natin kalaban ng Coldplay but yung mga ibang vloggers are also looking at this big announcements. Itong 51 billion pesos daw na
Laki.
allocated budget sa, So wow, what's going on?
Holy Land, yung
Paano
tawag
nakuha
nila.
yung news na ito, bro? Wow, this is big 51 billion.
Oo. Ang
Ano
laki.
ano ba dito? Anong
3 years.
marites mo yan?
Hindi kasi nagsimula yan, 'di ba? Nung nagsalita si Congressman Paulo Duterte nung isang araw na parang tinitira niya yung Congress. Sinasabi niya dahil pinag-iinitan yung mga tatay ko, yung mga Duterte, yung distrito ko tuloy parang kinakawawa. Inalisan kami ng budget. Parang ganun yung pinapalabas niya na sinisingle out sila. At he was talking a lot kasi about dun sa People's Initiative, about dun sa Chacha. Sa kanya din ang galing eh. 'Di ba na meron daw umiikot sa Davao na paying this, na wag niyong ibenta yung ano nyo, tinuturo niya sila Speaker Romualdez. So, yun, talagang kinakalaban na niya yung buong mga kasama niya sa Congress. O ngayon, naglabas ngayon, in-interview si Congressman Zaldico na meron yung data na lumabas, yung allocation para doon sa distrito daw ni Congressman Paulo according to Zaldico was fifty-one
Na-resibo
billion
nila.
in 3 years.
So
Mm.
let us read. Say we have to be professional
Okay,
journalists.
okay, okay.
Medyo sensitive tong topic ito. So House Committee on Appropriations. So ito yung committee na talaga alam nila kung saan pumupunta yung mga pera, yung budget. Chairman Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico, yun yung sinasabi mo kanina. Tumitingin siya dun sa mga reports na yung District of Davao City, First District, was allocated a whopping 51 billion pesos. That's roughly $1 billion in
Wow.
unprogrammed funds during nung termino ng dating presidenteng Rodrigo Duterte, no? That is so much. Ito yung kay Zaldico, no? Sabi niya sa interview niya kahapon, this is so much yan, 51 billion. Wala pa akong hawak na dokumento pero pinapahanap ko na po. Ito, mukhang 99% itong 51 billion, mukhang totoo po yan. So mukhang 100% almost sure po siya. Sa bagay, nung 18th Congress ay narinig ko na yan na napakalaking pondo na na-release sa South, sa Mindanao, especially Davao, tawag dyan Holy Land. Hindi ako nagsabi. We're just looking at it.
Mm.
Obviously, I'm sure we have to look at what the other side says. Now, may kakalabas din na news na updates on that. So the House Committee on Appropriation is verifying itong social media post about itong 51 billion na yan. So Zaldico is looking at it. So there are documents daw, bro, circulating sa social media that show that Davao City was allocated 13 billion pesos in the first year of the 18th Congress, 35 billion in the succeeding year, and 13 billion in the third year. So pag sinama mo yan, that's almost $1 billion, right? So we're also checking on the veracity ayon kay Ko kasi during that time maugong talaga na during that 18th Congress medyo maugong yung kwento na almost ganong kalaki ng ang releases parang medyo ang dami ng mga ang kwentuhan talaga kwentahan talaga sorry ang kwentahan talaga who can question the Holy Land of Davao parang sa kumbaga parang ina-imply niya na may carte blanche no na may parang bigay niya na yan kasi mga yan. So ayon kay Ko, last year gusto po ng DPWH, sabi nila dapat dinayat na ang Davao dahil sobra-sobra nang na-release daw sa Davao. That's why from 13 billion bumaba po ito sa 4 billion. Then this year naging 1 billion na lang po ang allocation ng District of Davao. So siguro yun yung sinasabi nila parang biglang ginipit sila dahil
Pinipit sila.
ba ng significantly from 30 billion to 13 billion and then 4 billion and then ngayon 1 billion na lang base dito
Mm.
sa report na sinasabi ni Zaldico based on dun sa Committee on Appropriations datos na meron siya. So, in a way, technically correct yung idea na ginikipit kami bigla because consider from where you're coming from, ganun kalaki.
Mm.
But of course, sa mga kritiko, again, allegedly kung itong amount na
Allegedly.
okay, for them, kahit hindi yung point na binabangay, ang point is how high it was at some point in time. No,
Mm.
parang ito dinayet ang diet pa yung term na ginamit nila so
Nag-post si
yeah,
former Senator Sonny Trillanes kanina. Sabi niya,
yeah.
according to DBM, DPWH, Congressman Pulong daw was awarded a whopping 51 billion yung sa 3 years na yon for his district. This is scandalous on so many levels. Anong infra project ang worth 51 billion sa isang distrito? This warrants a COA special audit. So, Trillanes is calling for a special COA audit para doon sa distrito na yun. Of course, si former Senator Trillanes, one of the talagang mabibigat na critics of the Duterte administration.
So chief critic, but yun nga, I'm also looking at Leila de Lima, among others, also making comments on this. So lahat ng mga critics ni Digong nagsama-sama. But now we're not talking about only critics of Digong. We're also looking at people in the administration, people in positions of power looking at this. Now, alam natin, last year, of course, dun sa confidential fund issue, grabe yung backlash, di ba? Now, of course, Sara is still very popular. If you were to bet who will be the next president, if there were elections tomorrow, I would still say it's Sara Duterte. But the reality is that this is an issue na medyo nagre-resonate, di ba? May kagat tong issue na ito. So let's see where this is going. Now, the reason why I think this is also important is because the other day, there was another congressman who posted something na in-imply na tatakbo sa Senado, itong anak ng dating Pangulo natin. So mukhang malabo na si Digong mismo tumakbo. Of course, bisa na yung isa mukhang mayor pa rin. So mukhang naturally looking at the Senate position. So maybe that, you always wonder also the timing reports come out of, they don't come out of thin air, do they, right? So siguro as one side was trying to build up momentum, suddenly may release kang ganyan. So I don't know if this is totally coincidental, which is something I doubt as far as politics is concerned. What is your news about one of the Dutertes running for Senate, bro? Meron ka bang marites dyan?
May mga surveys ako nakikita na sinasama siya eh. So doon pa lang parang may signs na
na may chance siya top 6
na may chance siya, Kasi kung titingnan mo yung mga surveys, 'di ba? Si former President Duterte mataas parate. So ang tanong diyan, yung votes ba niya, could it translate to his son Paulo if he runs for Senate?
Well, it translated to the daughter for the VP, and so I doubt it won't. Now I know people are gonna say stuff, but still, at the end of the day, we're talking about the Duterte. I won't ever underestimate the Dutertes on this run. Now, obviously, bro, we already mentioned this in previous episodes. Now, officially, so let me also read it. Medyo legit na tayo, bro. We have to be very specific about things that we're saying. So now, officially, you have also the Secretary of Justice of the Philippines admitting na eto na, medyo bukas na sila sa ICC. So this is something quite big, isn't it? Ikaw, bro, I mean, do you think the moment of truth is coming? Obviously, si Ronald Llamas, nakausap din natin yan. He already had his take also on this issue. I was always more skeptical in the sense na feeling ko, if kung ikaw BBM, you want things to go slow and sure and steady, right? Triple S. But, ICC has its own mind. ICC is gonna go its own way. And wait lang, I'm just trying to pull out itong direct quote para galing sa Justice Secretary natin para lang clear tayo dito. Okay, grabe, ang hirap ng magtrabaho ng Justice Secretary, di ba? I mean, I think this is the most stressful. I'll be honest, kitang-kita mo na stress din talaga yung mga nandyan sa office nila. It's a very stressful job. So ito. So we're not here to stop them. Which is quite different from before na you have no right to be here, violation
of no right to be here.
Now biglang parang pag nagligawan kayo una sabihin ng babae, no chance. Well, hindi ako magbigay ka ng flower. Alam mo yun, like,
hindi ka pipigilang manligaw.
alam mo na may pag-asa ka na talaga pag ganun ang sagot. Hindi kita pipigilan. I mean, hindi sasabihin na yes, pero tignan natin, di ba? So,
I'm not saying no.
Exactly. Because if they're not doing any... ito yung favorite natin line, di ba? Nung panahon nila Bato and all. Kung wala kang maling ginawa, anong ikakatakot mo, di ba? So, ito yung sinabi ni Justice Jesus Crispin Ramulla. Sabi niya, because if they're not doing anything illegal, there's nothing wrong with that. So meaning ICC in this case. But I would say the same thing dun sa kabila. Kung wala naman kayong ginawang mali nung panahon nyo, ba't kayo matakot sa investigation na? If they're getting statements, they're getting evidence, it's okay. So may admission na they're not gonna stop ICC from collecting evidence for a potential case. Meaning, talking to, interviewing yung families, I don't know, punta siguro dun sa mga forensic investigations, data, eyewitnesses, among others. But we have to clarify many issues, especially about procedures. So siguro this is where yung aspect of coordination, etc. will come from. We'll have to deal with several legal implications of the action of the ICC in the Philippines, and it might have to end up in the Supreme Court of the country. Now, last time I checked, I think the Supreme Court would be more or less okay with the ICC, considering the ruling before dun sa unilateral exit ni Digong sa ICC in 2018. Now, of course, alam ko si Harry Roque, yung favorite mong podcaster, he will have his say on this. But most people, including yung interview natin soon, si Attorney Ruben Carranza, I'm sure he'll give us some interesting updates about the procedural timing aspect. But yeah, bro. So what we were saying in an earlier episode is yung Polvoronic ni Buljak TV, medyo naglaylo ng konti dahil si Tatay Digong na lang, pina-chill na lang niya yung moment. But mukhang if this ICC issue gains legs again, which more like it gains speed, may legs na siya eh. Mukhang iinit na naman yung no? You can expect yung mga
Iinit
attack
na
ng
naman, oo.
Polvoronic, yung mga ganun. And even worse, I suppose, no?
So yun nga, titingnan nga kung itong change of approach ba, kung pinapa-slow down, kung babagal ba yung mga ginagawa na moves against the Dutertes, pero mukhang hindi. Mukhang talagang all fronts all sides eh. Pati 'di ba, I think sa Davao meron na ding moves para ma-unseat yung mga Duterte. Meron na ding 'di ba, parang may mga ano na din na baka si Congresswoman Nograles siya yung lalaban sa Davao to unseat the Dutertes after so many so may mga ganong talagang all out na assault na on different fronts para sa mga Duterte and yung mga close allies nila. So ay, mainit itong 2024. Doon papunta. Doon papunta talaga. I don't see it na parang it's too late na to make a U-turn kasi pag nakabalik sa kapangyarihan yung mga Duterte, I think baka balikan naman din itong mga nang ano sa kanila ngayon, yung mga gumagawa ng mga ganito sa kanila ngayon. So may mga ganong kumbaga masyado na tayo lumagpas para to turn back. Masyado nang malayo.
Wala nang atrasan to, parang gano'n.
Sana atrasan,
Pare,
no?
open-minded lang
Oo.
tayo, wala nang atrasan to.
Oo.
Ganyan ang dating sa akin.
Diba? If BBM would kung ano man impeach o step down o kung ano man, si Sara biglang maupo, naku, lagot sila. Diba? Could only imagine lahat ng mga so wala na mukhang I don't see it na maaayos pa anytime soon.
Speaking of it, obviously, one way for Marcos not to worry at all about the return of Duterte is to change the constitution, cha-cha, and make sure the next prime minister is someone close to him, if not he himself, right? But there seems to be some, at least temporary break dito sa issue ng PI. Ito yung People's Initiative. But ang narinig ko na actually may plano na by June or July, ituloy na itong referendum na ito na kunyari lang daw itong pause daw sabi ni BBM, but mukhang tuloy-tuloy itong plan na to. Anong Marites ang alam mo dyan? Or kasi lalo if the ICC issue comes out, I think isasabay-sabay na nila yan. I think like suddenly
Sabay-sabay na Magulo na din naman isang lapagan, no? Hindi, many administrations have tried bawat administration we always hear a version ng cha-cha this, cha-cha that. Tingnan natin if meron talagang kasi medyo maraming kontra 'di ba? Yung Senado kumukontra, yung opposition kumukontra, yung mga DDS kumukontra. So let's see how far this could take it ba. Pero Richard, matanong kita, ikaw ba what are your thoughts pagdating sa constitutional change? O anong mga provision ang gusto mong mabago? Anong yung style of government ba? O, ikaw, ano ba ang tingin mo doon?
Yeah, I mean, we can have a long conversation just on that, no? But for me, obviously, you cannot fix a problem kung may problema ka dun sa magfi-fix. It's like, that's the first thing to keep in mind, no? Kumaga, kahit anong coaching kukunin mo kung walang kwento yung driver, you're just making the situation worse. So that's one thing. And then pangalawa, yung law of unintended consequences. So I'll give you an example, yung party list system. Di ba ang ganda ng intention noon na bigyan ng oportunidad yung mga marginalized groups na magkakaroon ng, kahit papaano, boses dyan sa Kongreso. Next thing we know, binabo yung party list system. So, what is our assurance na dun sa bagong saligang batas na gagawin natin, which most likely will happen under a Trapo-dominated legislator, hindi magkakaroon ng mga problematic provisions or even seemingly helpful provisions will not create even bigger problems. And then of course, andun yung cost. Hindi po madali magpalit ng porma ng gobyerno. I think the one estimate why PIDS ito, yung government think tank ito, 200 billion pesos ang gagastusin natin if magta-transition tayo into a federal form of government. Pangapat, kailangan ba ito talaga? Kasi ang argument ni Zubiri is may pinasa na silang mga bagong batas. Kasi kung ang issue mo yung foreign investment,
Economic provision, oh.
meron ng bagong batas na pinasa, for instance, sa Public Services Act. Ang problema is hindi pa rin siya na-implement kasi kailangan mo ng implementing rules and regulations. So paano mo masabi na kailangan mo itong, kunyari, paano sabi kailangan mo ng SUV eh hindi mo pa na-start yung sedan mo? Kunyari, binili ka na ng kotse kahapon, last year, wala ka bang driver's license, hindi mo pa na-try, gusto mo bumili pa ng bagong kotse kasi walang kwenta. Di po nga na-try eh. Tingnan muna natin. Baka gumana itong sedan, hindi mo na kailangan bumili ng SUV, di ba? And then, obviously, things also could go very wrong. You know, the Chacha could just open up a whole sets of kind of forms. And so, but having said that, hindi ako against amendments. Hindi ako against parliamentary system in general. Federal, medyo suspicious ako. Kasi federal in a country kung saan purong warlords and dynasties ang in
Yun nga
charge.
eh, baka mas
Good
lumaking
luck.
ano eh.
They will be totally the boss, di ba? Magiging parang pre-Civil War US ang dating. Alam mo yung southern states na may sariling slavery and all of that. We'll have a semi-21st century version of that kind of crazy warlordism and all. So, but parliamentary in theory, actually, I'm okay with it, bro. But it has to be done under proper circumstances by the proper people with proper scrutiny and good intentions. Now, obviously, sabihin ng iba dyan, never mangyayari. And well, you think things are bad right now, they can get way worse if you get it wrong. I'll give you a lot of examples of countries na federal and sabog. Nigeria, Iraq, Brazil, right? I can give you examples of many countries na may parliament, sabog. Ang dami countries dyan sa Africa, Middle East, Latin America. So, hindi naman guarantee na parang yung sinasabi. Di ba si Michael Jordan, pag nagsishoot, nakalabas yung dila niya? Parang sinabi mo, pag nilabas ko yung dila ko, nag-shoot ako, maging kasing galing ako ni Jordan. It doesn't work that way. You have to have the training of Jordan. You have to have the genetics of Jordan. It's the same thing. So yung mga ewan dyan nagsabi, gaya natin yung sistema sa Switzerland, magiging Switzerland. It doesn't work that way. And going back to the investment issue, alam naman natin pagdating sa investors, ang issue nila is cost of electricity, bad infrastructure, corruption. How exactly is Chacha going to change those things? I'm not very convinced with the explanations I'm hearing there. I'm just parang nagtatapon lang sila kung para lang magkakaroon ng reason lang na palitan yung Chacha. So I am for amendments. I am for parliamentary in theory, but the devil is in the details. And as far as the semi-details I'm seeing right now, they're not the most encouraging thing. Alam natin may mga ibang their number of versions of potential Chacha coming out, tanggalin yung term limits, for instance. You know, like, so you can see na yung mga nagsusulong ito, may mga ibang agenda na rin siguro, di ba? Although, I would argue, the term limit is also another perfect example, bro, of unintended consequences. So, for instance, nag-introduce tayo ng term limits para hindi magkaroon ng forever yung mga isang politiko. So, but nung nilagay natin yan, nagkaroon ng insentibo yung dynasty guy na gumawa ng dynasty niya. Na essentially, yung asawa niya ilagay yung anak niya to convert it. So the term limit had a good intention but horrible consequence. It even worsened the political dynasty because wala kang kasabay na anti-dynasty enabling laws. Meron ka generic provision.
Nakalagay,
Pero walang, so you get what I'm saying? That this is actually way more complicated. It's like sa kotse yan, di ba bro? Hindi mo pwede palakasin lang yung engine kung hindi malakas yung pipes. Hindi malakas. Pag pinalakas mo lang yung engine pero yung hindi maganda yung ibang parts, sasabog yan. So ganun din yung constitutional change. It's not as simplistic. No offense to Robin Hood Padilla and those kinds of people, but I really don't think they fundamentally understand the complexity of issues like legal architecture, political system. Sobrang complicated ito. Hindi lang, so my problem is ang dami mga scammy ng pinagsasabi dyan. I am again for change, but good change, smart change. Hindi yung bara-bara change which will make things worse. Ganun kasimple lang yung short version ng sagot ko sa Ebro. But thank you for asking that question because I think it's a very important.
Marami din akong tutunan. Sa akin nga at least, nagkakaroon ng ganitong conversation para malaman din ng ordinaryong tao na how will this affect me, ano yung epekto nito sa araw-araw ko, gaganda ba buhay ko, lalaki ba sahod ko, bababa ba presyo ng bilihin, or will this just yung mayor ko mas lalo lang hahaba sa pwesto or mas lalo lang. So at least nasisimulan yung pag-uusap, and people are more aware na doon sa nangyayari and yung mga possible na mangyari. And siguro hindi yan, para they could have better understanding pag when the time comes na kailangan sila na ang kailangang sumagot kung kailangan na bang baguhin or hindi. Kasi 'di ba, any change naman kailangan pa ring dumaan sa referendum, kailangan pa ring. So hopefully mas natututo yung mga tao ngayon. Pero kasi actually for many people it's still a very boring topic eh. Pag maglalabas ako ng mga video about sa charter change or sa ano, parang hindi nila, wala silang pakialam eh, pero it's very important din
Kaya
kasi
nga kailangan bro, gumamit tayo ng mga metaphors. Yung sinasabi ko, kahit palitan mo yung kotse kung wasak pa rin driver, mas lalong, parang binigay mo ng sports car, yung walang kwentang driver, lalong magkakaroon ka ng problema, di ba?
mm.
Yung wasak nga kotse mo, ang pangit mag-drive, tapos binigay mo pa ng sports car, parang ganon. So I think if you use metaphors, medyo mas makaka-relate ang tao. But lahat naman tayo gusto natin ng masenso ang Pilipinas. Lahat naman tayo gets natin, may kulang talaga sa ating bansa. May hindi gumagalaw. Kasi ikaw ako, Mark, di ba? Umiikot tayo ng region natin. Let's just forget about Europe, yung mga ganun. Pero yung Vietnam, Indonesia, Bali, Hanoi, nakikita natin. Yung Thailand, malayo na sa atin, di ba? So nagigets ko na maraming frustrated. So sinisisi itong EDSA Puera na yan. Pero yung problema sa mga EDSA Puera argument na yan is it's like a bad doctor giving a bad medicine that could make the disease even worse. So you have to have a proper diagnostics before you make you propose any kind of solution, etc. But yun nga, for me the interesting thing is yung mga Dutertes, Robin Hood Padilla, sila pa yung ayaw bigla sa Chacha ngayon. Sila pa nga yung pinaka pro federalism Chacha, which tells you at the end of the day it's also about political interest, isn't it? You want
Si
Chacha.
Robin Lata is pro pa. Pero
Ano?
yung mga DDS, the rest of the DDS are yun, sila yung ayaw. Sila yung
Right,
ayaw ngayon. Pero
right.
oo. So, yun nga ang yun nga ang I think yun nga kailangan pag-usapan diyan yung electoral reform. Kasi kahit anong
Party
form of
reform.
government,
Oh,
kung,
party.
kung puro tumatanggap pa rin ng pera yung mga botante, kung puro vote buying pa rin, it's the same results pa rin yung makukuha mo eh. And of course, sa justice system natin, kailangan ding ma-reform. Kasi kahit na manghuli ka ng mga bibili ng boto, kung hindi mo din sila makakasuhan sa korte, hindi din sila mapaparusahan, it goes back to the same problem. Yung mga root ng problem na ganun eh. So I think kailangan din maisama, mai-address din yan kung merong way kung paano magagawa yung electoral reform, justice system. Importante yun
Oh, yung
for
COMELEC,
these changes to actually.
Ayusin mo yung COMELEC, parang election process mo, hindi mambo jumbo, hocus pocus, di ba? Ako, hindi ko naman sinabi na agree ako dun sa sinabi na purong SD card lang yung nagpanalo kay BBM. But may seryosong problem tayo sa integrity of elections in terms of yung doubts, concerns. Palakasin mo yung
You would hear
COMELEC.
stories of ano eh.
Oo, ang dami
Si
mga
ganito nagbayad
kalokohan.
ng ganitong milyon, kaya naging ganito. Si ganito nagbayad ng ganon, kaya naging ganon. So,
Right.
ayun eh, nakaka-frustrate pa din eh. So,
Correct. All right, thank you, bro. I think I think that's enough for this episode. Next time mag-RRM ulit tayo or RML. Try natin ulit yan. So, next episode, last episode natin for now, God willing, pag-usapan naman natin itong kaso nila Jingo Estrada. Pag-usapan natin itong issue
okay.
ng plunder, corruption, kamusta ang buhay. Thank you very much, bro.